I caught my wife lying about her girls' night out. Saw messages with her affair partner saying, "I had so much fun," and found out more worse things even I uncomfortable to read as her husband. Me 30 male, with my wife 27 female of 7 years. I want you to tell me not to read too much into this. My wife and I have had a good marriage of 7 years. There have been no serious issues over the time. We have been together. We have a 6-year-old son as well. My story begins one night when my wife goes out with her friends for a local winter celebration that happens every year. It is very normal for us to socialize separately, and I was home with the kid. She came home at about 5 a.m., about a half hour before I had to leave for work. And this has been our agreement for a while. Generally, she stays out with her best friend Emma and then sleeps or just sobers up as much as possible at Emma's apartment before coming home. This has always been an option, and she has exercised it a few times a year for the last few years. Our house is quite a drive from where they or I would go out for the night. All this was normal. I got up. I went to work and I came home. I asked her about her night, and she told me all about it, all the people she saw and hung out with, her timeline, etc. Great. I'm glad you got home safe. I'm glad she had fun. We had previously been on vacation on a Southeast Asian resort, and I had brought our little used tablet along on it. I had brought it to read on in lieu of an e-reader since I could also play a couple games on it. The night after she came home from going out, I opened it to continue a game. I had begun to play on it. I opened the web browser first to check ESPN, and it went directly to her Facebook messages page. When she had logged in to check on a friend who was at house sitting for us. We had had a limited internet package at the resort. This is where things took a weird turn. I could see she had messaged a new guy at work named Dale that she had mentioned a couple of times the message. I had so much fun. I looked at it and couldn't help but to tap it here. I discovered an alternate version of her night. There was nothing in the message immediately alarming in terms of assuming something specific happened. But why were they uncomfortable to read as her husband? My issues in this moment are twofold. One, I can't say she lied to me, but she misrepresented her night from their conversation. She quickly lost her long-term work friends except for Emma, and had spent the night at a second bar with Dale and a couple of Dale's friends. She did mention running into Dale to me, but he was a footnote from the messaging conversation. I can tell she basically spent the whole night with him, and without the people she had highlighted. For to her tone, every sentence had 3 exclamation points. She told him she had so much fun multiple times. She pushed the conversation when it stalled. He did begin it with a message at 2 a.m. after they separated about a girl that gave my wife a hard time about them hanging out. But when she woke up at 9 to when I got home at 4 the next day, she pushed the entire conversation consistently. None of this is damning, but I got my attention and stayed in the back of my head for a couple of days. I kind of wish I left it there, but I didn't. 2 nights later, I did something I'd never even felt compelled to do after she fell asleep. I grabbed her phone. I knew there wouldn't be anything with him since they were using Facebook, but I was curious about her text with Emma. I was nervous and didn't feel like I had a lot of time, so I jumped into her conversation with Emma the day after. At first, there was nothing about Dale, but about how a different guy I had never heard of had treated Emma. But then out of nowhere, I'm gonna ask my wife the following. Do you think it will be awkward for you with Dale at work tomorrow? He is so touchy. Hello. Well, my wife answered. I don't think it will be awkward, but he did message me in the middle of the night to apologize about that girl. They went back to talking about the guy giving Emma. Emma is married to someone else, by the way. No idea who this guy is. Before, my wife texted Emma a picture of them and Dale with my wife in the middle. Face pressed against both of them, and my wife teasing Emma about looking like a different girl in the picture, a girl that had apparently slept with Dale, a fact that they had mocked Dale with. Then my wife said, and I quote, "I can't believe we got 2 guys to kiss." That was all of their conversation about him, but it was enough. Why would work with Dale be awkward? Why did my wife mention the message about the girl, but not about the fact that she had continued to happily and excitedly push the conversation after that? What could have happened? Touchy? Like he got upset about something, or he was physically all over her? Did she push him away when he got too touchy, and that is why it is awkward? Then why push the conversation with him so hard the next day? Whatever did happen from how excitedly she was talking to him, she wasn't opposed to it. What then? I sat on this for a couple more days, alternating between trusting her and being uncomfortable. I decided I needed to know more, and I grabbed her phone after she was out cold a few nights later to try to read more. First, I saw there was nothing more between her and Emma about him so good. I scrolled up to about a month back in their combo and just started reading to make myself feel better, and it worked. Nothing bad about me, and only 2 mentions of him. One when my wife hired him, and 2 that he had said at work that he felt that my wife and Emma were going out too early that night. Emma's follow-up was that, LOL, people go out even earlier than we do, so it didn't seem like anything more than a comment about something someone at work said. Then I got back to the stuff I had read originally about their night out, and I decided to read it again. It made me feel the same, but when I got to the end, I realized the last line about teasing Dale about the girl he had slept with was gone. Of all of it, why delete that? On accident is all I could figure on accident when deleting other texts. Earlier that day, I mentioned to my wife that a friend had seen her at a second bar. She had largely admitted from her story to me to gauge the reaction. She seemed alarmed, but I pretended I couldn't remember who saw her because no one did, and she dropped it very quickly. It occurred to me then that maybe the missing text I had read previously had been deleted in a purge of texts about my saying that. I got on my mobile account to see what sort of log there was of texting, and I was shocked at what I had found. First, I realized I could see all of her messages app online just like that. Creepy I could do this because her number was our primary account holder, and the number either of us would use to pay the bill, check for upgrades, or whatever. Second, I could see a text log. I could tell from referencing the text log to her messaging app that she had indeed deleted 12 texts to and from Emma in the time I was worried about. I couldn't find any other texts that were deleted after an hour or so of cross-referencing. At this point, I felt like I was going insane, but I figured I went this far, so I might as well see it through. I logged back into her Facebook that very day. She had sent him a picture of her that she claimed was when she looked better at a much lighter weight. He said she looked better now and sent her a similar weight loss picture. They had chatted back and forth about that until I had come home. This was yesterday, and this has been about a week. I am very torn on all of this because I still feel like I can trust her. But I also now fell down a bit of a rabbit hole, and I also know this is largely of my own decision-making. I should have never looked at any of this, but I did, and here I am. I'm also afraid to confront her. I'm both afraid to have been way off base and destroy a good marriage, but I'm also afraid to lure her to my suspicion. If I did that, she could either end it without me ever knowing I was cheated on, or continue to pursue it aware that I'm watching. I don't want her to have the upper hand if that is the case. But mostly I want you to tell me I am being stupid, so I will stop. We have the same friends, so I can't really go to them. Reddit talks him sense into me. Thanks. Deleting certain messages, but not all, looks incredibly guilty of what is the question. Something is going on. It could be as benign as her being more flirty than she would have been. Or maybe she's starting something up. What I want to know is if they want to run into Dale, or they plan to meet him, either as a group, or they knew he was going somewhere, and they went on purpose for him. Your choice is to walk around a nervous wreck or point blank ask her. Sit her down and say we need to talk about what really happened on day night. Because I know you were at that bar and Dale was there, and to be honest, I'm very upset right now. Alright, let's go to the update. It didn't last long. The next day after I posted this, my wife and Emma came home and began talking about work. She mentioned Dale staying too close after someone else had called out, and she was grateful. She didn't have to do it. I took the opportunity to ask about him. After a few light questions, I asked if he was gay since he worked in a traditionally feminine position. She said no, he isn't gay, and then she hesitated and said maybe a little bi. I asked why, and she said they got him to kiss another guy when they were out the night all this started. I asked how she managed this, and she said by kissing Emma. I asked the following: so you kiss someone else for another man's pleasure? She was really caught off guard by the question and said she didn't think of it like that, that it was just something funny they got them to do. I asked how would you feel if I did the same thing, and yeah, she said she saw my point. She pretty quickly conceded that it was not a good thing to do and asked if I was mad. I was already annoyed with her because she had leaked a work detail. I had told her accidentally to the wife of a co-worker of mine that day and had got me in some minor hot water. So I just told her it wasn't the end of the world, but I wanted a little space right at the moment. She went into the bedroom and I got to watch something interesting happen. She simultaneously started messaging Dale and Emma, which I was able to watch on my computer. To Emma, she was saying all the right things. He is right. That was stupid. I'd be pissed. We didn't think it through. I feel terrible, etc. She was having a pretty epic breakdown in those texts, and only one thing annoyed me. At one point, Emma said she was glad no one took a picture or video, and my wife said something like, "Oh, don't even say that," and then my wife immediately deleted those texts, which was a both frustrating reminder that she was deleting texts and a confusing moment because I have no idea why she delete those two at all. I checked the logs later to confirm she had deleted them, and it wasn't a sync issue between apps. Dale's conversation was entirely work-related. In fact, it began with a 1-minute Facebook call from him, and was her following up that he was able to get into a safe he needed to in order to close up. Then it veered into a conversation about how much he fit in, how much he preferred it to his other job, how much learning he had to do, etc. Nothing alarming, but she did end it by giving him her number so he didn't have to Facebook call her if she needed help. So to recap, I'm sitting in the other room really annoyed with her for kissing another girl for him. She is panicking to Emma about it in one message, and in another, she's giving him her number at the exact same time. Dang it. But this is what proved so frustrating about all of this. She wasn't wrong to give him her number so he didn't have to Facebook call her for work help. But could you have any worse timing? So I did what any mature adult would do. I ignored her except for when I had to interact for 2 days. On the third day of largely being ignored, she went from sad to angry. So I asked her why she was mad. She said she knew I had been reading her texts. I told her she had been acting really sketchy, and she pointed out that I got really upset the one time she did this. A seriously insane but unrelated incident, and I again just said she had been acting sketchy. She asked why, so I laid everything out about her texts and what was bothering me. She told me I was overreading it. Yes. She had met Dale out and done the inappropriate kiss, but he was too drunk, started being too touchy, so they left. I then asked why she spent the bulk of the next day messaging him about how much fun she had and other inane things. Sent him a weight loss picture, a picture of her dinner, her phone number, and generally pushed the conversations with him. She froze for a second and said she didn't know, and then said she messaged him so it wouldn't be awkward at work because of how she left so abruptly with Emma. She said they had just been talking about exercise at work. So she sent him a picture of what she wanted to get back to. She's not big, by the way. She's pretty hot actually, and then her dinner because it was just a continuation of the conversation. And she also said she just gave him her number because of work. She also conceded very quickly that from my perspective it all looked bad, and that if the positions were reversed she would be thinking the same exact thing of me. But she also stressed that I didn't see them at work, how she is always talking about me and our son, that she isn't attracted to him. She asked me repeatedly what she could do. But really, I don't know. I just wished I got to watch it play out longer, but she out-snooped me and figured out I had needed a code to get into her messages. But I told her it was to look at Verizon's new unlimited plans when I had asked her for it. This tipped her off, and eventually she looked at my computer and found I was watching her messages. Now this is a little alarming to me too, actually, because I had never done as much as snoop prior to this. Why wouldn't she have taken my request for the code for what I was saying I was doing? Why was her guard up? She says she was suspicious I had looked in her phone when she was in the shower. So her guard was up from that. I can't remember if I did or what she was referring to, but I feel like that probably happened. She also explained away the text deletions by saying they were all talking to Emma about how she thought maybe I was looking at her texts. I don't know, this isn't strictly true because I saw her delete the weird glad no one took a pic texts. But it is plausible enough. She kept asking me what she could do and eventually deleted her messenger. But I told her that was pointless since she'd find a way and had given him her number anyway. She told me to talk to him to talk to Emma, but I said talking to him was just weird because I didn't believe he did anything wrong. And it would make her life weird, and that Emma would just tell me whatever my wife wanted her to tell anyway. So she kept stressing that she didn't do anything. I didn't know about that. Yes, it looked bad that she would do anything to fix it, and that there was nothing there. She told me to keep watching her stuff, that it was fine. She understood, etc. It left me in a weird spot. I feel like I have a fair amount of evidence that something was starting, and I do believe in my gut. She likes him. I even told her that if I was him and having a girl message me like that, I would think she was a sure thing. But yet all her explanations are plausible, and I am completely certain nothing happened based on timelines I was able to clearly establish. I do feel she violated our trust, but I also know nothing more will come of it now. Unless it does, in which case she would just find new ways to hide it. For her part, she is able to explain about everything pretty logically, completely admit it looks wrong, but largely call it all a coincidence. After a couple more days of anger, I relented and said I would drop it. I have but figured I'd leave this update. It isn't enough to end a good marriage, but it does feel weirdly unresolved to not get to know. Did I get caught catching her, or is the sum less than its parts in this case? Top commenter says, from what I'm reading, your conversation with your wife seems to be about each other, pointing fingers at each other. Totally called for and totally justifiable. However, this kind of conversation will get you guys nowhere and will never resolve the elephant in the room: broken trusts. In order for you guys to be better at your relationship trust-wise, I suggest you start talking about your feelings and not about excuses. Sit down with her and tell her how you feel about everything. And then to bring it closer to home, just ask her, how would you feel if I did exactly the same thing as you did? From there, you just shut up and listen to her whole story. Rebuilding trust is something both of you have to do together. Work out a plan together. Think about what feelings are lacking from both sides. Good luck to you. Hope things work out. Alright, let's go to the second cheating story. My husband, 31 male, of 12 years, cheated on me, 30 female, for years. My husband and I have been together since we were 14 years old, and we know each other since my birth. We practically did everything together, and we're always there for each other all the time. There isn't a single issue that we haven't overcome together. Yesterday, he confessed he was cheating on me with another woman. It was after we finished making love. He told me that they had been together for a long time and have kids together. Less than me and him, but still kids. He told me that he loves me and understands that if I wanted a divorce because he betrayed my trust before he could say anything else. I told him to get out. I yelled and screamed at him to get out, but stopped when our baby in the same room as us started crying. I told him he needed to leave for the night and not come back until I said so. He left. I don't know where he is, but I received lots of texts of him wanted to talk this over and see if we can find a solution together. I'm so angry, confused right now. All I want is my husband back, my best friend. But I also feel betrayed, all the trust we worked up over the years gone. I have 4 kids with this man. What do I do? Let's see the top comments. One of the foul realities of the legal system in many countries, including the US, is that the person that goes for child support and maintenance first gets a bigger piece of the pie. He has also most likely been using marital assets to support these people. Because of this, you need to get a family law attorney today. Use a credit card if you must. Don't wait on any of these things because you must protect your assets for your children. Take half the money in joint accounts and put them in an individual account at another bank. Take his name off of joint credit cards or close them down. Freeze your credit. Don't tell him you're doing these things from now on. His attorney talks to your attorney. Only communicate with him via text or email about the children. Screenshot every communication. Tell everyone after you've done the above, your family, his family, friends, everyone. You need the emotional support of sympathetic people, and there is nothing you should be ashamed of. Consider going to websites with forums such as Jump Lady or survivinginfidelity.com. They have a host of information and emotional support.